I'm sitting in a coffee shop right now, alone, staring at my phone, where my relationship status still says married, even though the man who married me won't answer my calls anymore. My ring is still on my finger, but it feels like a lie, like I'm wearing a costume of who I used to be. 3 weeks ago, I had a husband who loved me, a home we built together, a life that made sense. Today, I have divorce papers in my email inbox and a growing realization that everyone thinks I'm the villain in this story. But here's the thing nobody wants to hear. I didn't do anything wrong. Before we get into it, don't forget to like and subscribe, and hit hype to boost this episode. Drop a comment below with your city or country. I'm always curious where viewers are joining from. I had male friends. That's it. That's the big crime everyone is losing their minds over. I had friends who happened to have penises, and apparently that was too threatening for my husband's fragile ego to handle. So let me tell you what actually happened, because the version everyone else is telling makes me sound like a monster, and that's not fair. That's not the truth. That's just what it looks like when you're only hearing his side of the story. Let me start by explaining something fundamental about who I am as a person. I don't believe in limiting your friendships based on gender. That's archaic. That's patriarchal. That's insecure behavior masquerading as boundaries. I've always had male friends. Always. Even before I met my husband. In high school, I was one of those girls who got along better with guys. Girls were too much drama, too competitive, too fake. Guys were straightforward. They said what they meant. They didn't play games. In college, most of my study groups were guys. Most of my drinking buddies were guys. My best friend junior year was a guy named Marcus, who I literally spent every day with. We'd get breakfast together, go to classes together, study together, and yes, occasionally sleep in the same bed when we were too drunk to walk back to our separate dorms. Nothing ever happened. We were just friends. When I met my husband, let's call him David, I was upfront about this. I told him on our third date, I have a lot of male friends. If that's a problem for you, we should probably stop seeing each other now. He said it wasn't a problem. He said he trusted me. He said he wasn't one of those insecure guys who gets jealous over friendships. He lied. Or maybe he believed it at the time and changed later. Either way, it became a problem. A big problem. The problem that ended our marriage, apparently. About a year into our marriage, David started bringing up concerns about my friendships. He'd phrase them carefully, like he was trying not to sound controlling. I just think maybe you shouldn't hang out with Jake one-on-one so much. Or, is it really necessary to text Brandon at 11 p.m.? Or, I feel uncomfortable with how much physical contact you have with your guy friends. And I'd explain patiently that he was being insecure, that my friendships were platonic, that he needed to work on his jealousy issues instead of trying to control who I spent time with. But he kept pushing. Eventually, he presented me with what he called reasonable boundaries that he wanted me to follow, his proposed rules. 1. No one-on-one hangouts with male friends unless he was invited. 2. No texting male friends after 9 p.m. 3. No physical affection beyond a brief hug. 4. No staying over at male friends' houses, even in a group setting. 5. No sharing personal details about our marriage with male friends. 6. No going to bars or clubs with male friends without him present. I stared at that list and laughed. Actually laughed in his face. These aren't boundaries, I said. This is a prison. This is you trying to control me because you can't handle your own insecurity. He said these were normal expectations in a marriage, that most wives wouldn't push back on these basic requests. I said most wives probably married secure men who didn't need to police their friendships. He looked hurt. I didn't care. I wasn't going to apologize for having friends. I told him, I will not follow these rules. I will not let you isolate me from my friends because you're too insecure to handle that I have a life outside of you. If you can't trust me, that's your problem, not mine. He went quiet. That should have been my first warning that something was shifting, but I was too righteous to notice. Let me introduce you to the male friends who apparently destroyed my marriage. Jake, my work friend. We met when I started at the marketing firm 3 years ago. He's funny, charming, great at his job. We got lunch together almost every day. We texted constantly about work stuff, life stuff, everything. When I had a bad day, he was the first person I'd vent to. When he had a bad day, same thing. We just clicked, you know? That's rare. You don't throw away that kind of connection just because your husband is intimidated by it. Brandon, my gym buddy. We met in a spin class 2 years ago. He's incredibly fit, super motivating, always pushing me to be better. We started working out together regularly. Early morning sessions before work, sometimes evening sessions if David was working late. Brandon also happens to be a massage therapist, so sometimes after particularly brutal workouts, he'd work out the knots in my shoulders, purely professional, purely friendly. Marcus, my college best friend still in my life, lives across town. We try to meet up every couple of weeks for drinks and catching up. Sometimes those nights would run late because we'd get deep into conversation and lose track of time. Sometimes I'd crash on his couch instead of driving home late. David hated this, said it was inappropriate. I said David was being ridiculous. Marcus is like my brother. Tyler, the newest addition to my friend group. Met him at a networking event 6 months ago. He works in tech, super smart, and we had this instant intellectual connection. We started having coffee meetings to discuss industry trends, life goals, philosophy. Deep conversations that I honestly wasn't having with David anymore. Tyler got me in a way David had stopped trying to. These were my friends, my support system, my people, and David wanted me to choose between them and him. That's not how friendship works. That's not how marriage works. You don't get to isolate your spouse from their friends just because you're threatened. David started keeping a mental list of what he called incidents that proved my friendships were inappropriate. Let me go through them and explain why he was wrong about every single one. Incident number 1, the Jake sleepover. Jake was going through a brutal breakup. His girlfriend of 4 years cheated on him, and he was devastated. He called me at midnight, crying, asking if he could come over just to not be alone. I said yes. Obviously. That's what friends do. He came over. We talked on the couch for hours. He fell asleep with his head on my shoulder. I fell asleep too. That's where David found us in the morning when he came out for coffee. Me and Jake tangled up on the couch, both fully clothed, completely innocent. David's face went white. He didn't say anything, just stared at us until Jake woke up and got awkward and left. Then David exploded. You let another man sleep in our house, in our living room, while I was sleeping upstairs. He needed a friend, I said. He was hurting. Was I supposed to turn him away? Yes, or at the very least you should have woken me up and told me he was here. Why? So you could what? Chaperone us? We're adults. We're friends. Nothing happened. It doesn't look like nothing. I don't care what it looks like. I care what it is. And it was a friend supporting a friend. He didn't talk to me for 2 days after that. Incident number 2, the Brandon massage. David came home early from work one day and found Brandon giving me a massage in our living room. I was face down on the floor, shirt off, sports bra on, and Brandon was working on my lower back because I'd tweaked it during deadlifts. David stood in the doorway and said very quietly, "What the fuck is this?" "Brandon's fixing my back," I said without moving. "I told you I hurt it yesterday." With his hands, on your bare skin, in our house. He's a professional massage therapist, David. This is literally what he does for a living. Then he can do it at his professional office, not on our living room floor with your shirt off. Brandon got uncomfortable and left. I was pissed. "You just humiliated me and my friend because you're insecure," I said. "I humiliated you? I came home to another man's hands all over my wife's body. He was helping me. You're making it sexual when it wasn't. How would you feel if you came home to me getting a massage from a female friend? I'd be fine with it because I'm not an insecure child. That fight lasted until 3 a.m. Incident number 3. The Marcus overnight, I went to Marcus's place for what was supposed to be a quick dinner and catching up. We opened a bottle of wine, then another, started watching a movie, started talking about old times, new times, everything in between. I texted David around 11 p.m. Having such a great time, gonna crash here tonight, don't wait up. He called me immediately. Come home, he said. I've been drinking. I can't drive. I'll come get you. Marcus lives 40 minutes away. I'm not making you drive an hour-and-a-half round trip when I can just sleep on his couch. I don't want you sleeping there. Well, I'm an adult and I'm making the decision to stay. I'll see you tomorrow. I hung up. I woke up the next morning to 17 missed calls and a text that said, "We need to talk about this marriage." When I got home, David was sitting at the kitchen table with his laptop open, showing me an article about emotional affairs and inappropriate opposite-sex friendships. I rolled my eyes so hard I almost saw my brain. You're being ridiculous, I said. Am I? Because this article describes exactly what you're doing with Marcus, with Jake, with all of them. That article is written by insecure people for insecure people. Our marriage is fine. Your jealousy is the only problem here. Incident number 4. The Tyler coffee dates. Tyler and I started meeting for coffee every Wednesday morning before work. We'd talk for hours, about books, about philosophy, about our dreams and fears and frustrations. He was brilliant. He challenged me intellectually in ways I hadn't been challenged in years. David called them dates. I called them conversations between friends. One Wednesday, Tyler posted a photo on Instagram, me laughing at something he'd said, coffee cup in hand, morning light coming through the window. He captioned it, "Best way to start the day." I thought it was sweet. David thought it was disrespectful. "He's posting pictures of you like you're his girlfriend," David said. "He's posting pictures of his friend. You're reading into it. Everyone who sees that will think you're together. Only if they're as paranoid as you. I want you to stop seeing him. No. I'm asking you as your husband to please stop having one-on-one coffee meetings with a man who clearly has feelings for you. He doesn't have feelings for me. And even if he did, I can't control how he feels. I can only control my actions, and my actions are completely appropriate. Your actions are destroying our marriage. Your insecurity is destroying our marriage." He walked away. I finished my coffee and texted Tyler to confirm our next Wednesday meeting. About 6 months before everything fell apart, David did something that made me genuinely angry. He talked to my female friends behind my back and convinced them to stage an intervention. I came home from work one day to find my 3 closest female friends, Sarah, Monica, and Jess, sitting in my living room with David, looking at me with concerned expressions. "What's going on?" I asked. Sarah spoke first. "We need to talk to you about your friendships with men." I looked at David. "You called them here." "I'm worried about you," he said. "We all are." "This is unbelievable." Monica jumped in. "Honey, we love you, but we've been watching this situation develop and we think you need to hear some hard truths." "Hard truths? Like what?" Jess took a breath. "Like the fact that your male friends are all clearly into you, and you're either naive or willfully ignorant about it." "That's not true." "Jake looks at you like you hung the moon," Sarah interrupted. "Everyone at your office assumes you're having an affair." "Brandon literally massages you shirtless," Monica added. "That's not normal friendship behavior." "Marcus has been in love with you since college," Jess said. "Everyone knows it. Everyone except apparently you." "And Tyler," Sarah continued, "posts about you constantly. He talks about you like you're the most fascinating woman alive. He's courting you, babe, and you're letting him." I stood there, feeling ganged up on. betrayed by the women I'd trusted most. You all sound just like David, I said coldly. Jealous, insecure, projecting. We sound like people who are watching you play with fire, Monica said. We sound like people who care about your marriage. My marriage is fine. Your marriage is falling apart, David said quietly, and you won't even acknowledge it. Because there's nothing to acknowledge. I have friends, male friends. That's normal. Sarah shook her head. Not like this. Not with this much intensity. Not with this much time and emotional energy and physical closeness. That's not normal friendship. That's emotional infidelity at minimum. I looked at each of them, my friends, my husband, and felt completely alone. I can't believe you all ambushed me like this, I said. I can't believe you've been talking about me behind my back, pathologizing my friendships, making me out to be some kind of villain when I'm just living my life. We want you to set boundaries, Jess said. That's all. Just some reasonable boundaries with these men. I don't need boundaries. They're my friends. Then your marriage is going to end, David said flatly, because I can't keep doing this. I can't keep watching you prioritize other men over me. I can't keep being made to feel crazy for having normal reactions to inappropriate situations. Then leave, I said. The room went silent. What? David stared at me. If you can't handle me having friends, if you're going to give me ultimatums and try to control who I spend time with, then leave. I'm not changing who I am for anyone. My friends looked horrified. David looked broken. Okay, he said softly. Okay. He walked out of the room. I heard the front door close. I looked at my friends. Happy now? They left without another word. That night, David didn't come home. He texted me around 10 p.m. Staying at a hotel, need space to think. I texted back, fine, think all you want. But then I did something I'm not proud of. I went through our text messages, all of them, years of conversations, scrolling back, reading exchanges with fresh eyes. And I saw things I hadn't let myself see before. Jake, you're the only person who really gets me. I don't know what I'd do without you. Me, you'll never have to find out. I'm not going anywhere. Brandon, you looked amazing today. That workout really suits you. Me, stop, you're making me blush. Marcus, remember when we used to joke about getting married if we were both still single at 40? Sometimes I think about that. Me, haha, our backup plan. Don't worry, I'm keeping you in mind. Tyler, I can talk to you about anything. My girlfriend doesn't understand me like you do. Me, that's because we have a special connection. Not everyone gets us. I read through dozens of conversations like this, hundreds maybe, years of little moments that individually seemed innocent, but together painted a picture of something. Something more than friendship? No, I pushed that thought away. These were just the ways friends talk. Affectionate language, playful flirting, inside jokes, completely normal. I wasn't doing anything wrong. David was just insecure. Everyone was overreacting. I closed my phone and went to bed, alone in our bed for the first time in 6 years, and told myself I had nothing to feel guilty about. David came back the next day, but something had changed. He was quieter, more distant. He'd look at me sometimes like he was seeing a stranger. Over the next few months, he stopped arguing with me about my friends. He stopped expressing concerns. He stopped asking me to change. At first, I thought I'd won. I thought he'd finally accepted that this was who I am and he needed to deal with it. I was wrong. He hadn't accepted it. He'd given up. I noticed small things. He stopped kissing me goodbye in the morning. He stopped asking about my day. He stopped reaching for my hand when we watched TV. He stopped initiating sex. When I initiated, he'd participate, but mechanically, like he was going through motions. He started working later, started going to the gym more, started making his own plans with his own friends. When I'd come home late from hanging out with Jake or Marcus or Tyler, he'd already be in bed, back turned to me, pretending to be asleep. I told myself this was fine. This was him adjusting. This was him learning to be less codependent. I told myself we were just going through a rough patch. I told myself couples grow apart sometimes, and that's normal. But somewhere deep down, in a place I didn't want to examine, I knew something was dying. 3 weeks ago, I went to a work conference in Chicago. 3-day event, lots of networking, lots of late nights. Jake was going too. Same company, same conference. David asked, "Are you sharing a hotel room?" "Of course not. What kind of question is that?" "Just asking." "We have separate rooms, on different floors actually." Okay, but his okay felt heavy, loaded with unspoken things. The conference was great. Jake and I went to sessions together, got drinks afterward with colleagues, stayed up late in the hotel bar, talking about presentations we'd seen and strategies for our next campaign. The last night, most people had flown out early, but Jake and I had late flights the next morning. We were the only ones left from our company. We got dinner, just the two of us, at a nice restaurant near the hotel. We talked for hours. We split 2 bottles of wine. We laughed until we cried. We talked about our lives, our dreams, our frustrations with our relationships. Him with his perpetually chaotic dating life. Me with David's jealousy issues. Jake said, "Can I be honest about something?" "Always." "If you weren't married, I think we would have ended up together." The wine made me bold. "Yeah? Yeah, you're exactly my type. Smart, funny, ambitious, beautiful. We just click, you know?" "We do click," I agreed. "Your husband's an idiot for not appreciating you." "He appreciates me. He just wants to control me." "You deserve someone who lets you be yourself." "I am myself. That's the problem. He wants me to be someone different." Jake reached across the table and took my hand. "His loss." I didn't pull my hand away. We sat like that for a moment, hands connected, eyes locked, and something shifted. Something became possible that hadn't been before. Then my phone rang. "David." I pulled my hand back and answered, "Hey." "Hey, how was your day?" "Good, long. About to head back to the hotel." "Okay. Safe flight tomorrow. Love you." "Love you too." I hung up. Jake was looking at me with an expression I couldn't quite read. "I should get back," I said. "Yeah, me too." We walked back to the hotel together, took the elevator together. His floor was before mine. When the elevator stopped at his floor, he turned to me. "This was really nice. I'm glad we got this time." "Me too." He leaned in and kissed my cheek, but he lingered. His lips stayed on my cheek for a beat too long. His hand came up to my waist. I didn't move. The elevator doors started to close. He stepped back, smiled at me, and walked away. I rode up to my floor, went to my room, and lay on the bed staring at the ceiling. Nothing had happened, but something had almost happened, and I had let it almost happen. What I didn't know was that one of David's friends from college, some guy I'd met maybe twice, was at the same conference. He saw Jake and me at dinner. He saw us holding hands. He saw the way we were looking at each other. And he took a photo. Not of the hand-holding specifically, but of us at the restaurant, clearly on what looked like a date. My body language leaning toward Jake, laughing at something he'd said, wine glasses on the table, intimate lighting. He sent it to David with a message. "Hey man, saw your wife at the conference. Thought you'd want to know she was having dinner with some guy. Looked pretty cozy. Hope everything's okay." I didn't know about this photo for days. I came home from Chicago and everything seemed normal. David was distant, but that had become our new normal. I unpacked, did laundry, went back to work. 3 days later, David asked me, "How was dinner with Jake in Chicago?" "Fine. Why?" "Just wondering what you talked about." "Work stuff mostly. Why are you asking?" He pulled out his phone and showed me the photo. My stomach dropped. "This was sent to me by someone who was at your conference," he said, his voice unnaturally calm. He said you two looked like you were on a date. We weren't on a date. We were colleagues having dinner. Colleagues don't look at each other like this. Like what? We were having a conversation. You're leaning into him. You're laughing. You look happier in this photo than you've looked with me in months. That's not fair. Were you holding hands? My pause was too long. Jesus Christ, he said. You were. It was just a moment. He was being supportive about us, about our marriage issues, and he reached for my hand, and I didn't pull away immediately. That's it. That's all that happened. That's all that happened this time. What's that supposed to mean? It means I'm done. Those 3 words hit me like a physical blow. Done with what? Done with this marriage, this version of you that prioritizes other men over me, this constant gaslighting where you tell me I'm insecure and paranoid when I'm actually just watching my wife emotionally cheat on me. I'm not cheating. You're in love with Jake, maybe with Marcus too, maybe with all of them. I don't know anymore and I don't care. I'm not in love with anyone except you. Then why do you act like they matter more than I do? Why do you spend more time with them, share more of yourself with them, defend them more passionately than you've ever defended our marriage? I didn't have an answer. He nodded, like my silence confirmed everything. I've contacted a divorce attorney, he said. Papers will be ready next week. You can't be serious. I'm completely serious. I've been serious for months. I've been trying to figure out if I could live like this, with a wife who has emotional affairs with multiple men and convinces herself it's normal. And I can't. I can't keep doing this. David, please. I asked you for boundaries. Simple, reasonable boundaries. You called me insecure. I asked you to prioritize our marriage. You said I was controlling. I asked you to see things from my perspective. You said I was the problem. Well, fine. I'm removing the problem. I'm removing myself. You're overreacting. No, I'm finally reacting appropriately. I should have done this after the Jake sleepover, or the Brandon massage, or any of the 100 times you chose them over me. But I loved you, so I kept trying. I kept hoping you'd wake up and realize what you were doing. But you won't. You can't. So I'm done trying. He walked out of the room. I stood there, frozen, trying to process what had just happened. My husband was divorcing me, over friendships, over completely innocent friendships that he'd blown completely out of proportion because of his insecurity. This couldn't be happening. The next 7 days were a blur. David moved out, packed his stuff while I was at work one day, left his key on the kitchen counter, and disappeared. He wouldn't answer my calls, wouldn't respond to texts, had his attorney handle all communication. I tried talking to his friends. They either didn't respond or told me to respect his decision. I tried talking to his family. His mum said, very carefully, "Honey, I love you, but I've been watching this situation for a long time, and I understand why he's doing this. You think I'm cheating? I think you've been putting other men before your husband for years. I think you've been dismissing his very valid concerns as insecurity, and I think you've been lying to yourself about the nature of these friendships. They're just friends. Friends don't destroy marriages, sweetie. What you have with those men, that destroys marriages." She hung up. I called Sarah. She answered but sounded cold. "What do you need?" David left me. "I know. You know? He called me, asked me to check on you eventually, but to give you space first. He's divorcing me over nothing. It's not nothing. We tried to tell you 6 months ago. You didn't listen. So you're on his side?" "I'm on the side of people taking responsibility for their actions. You made choices. This is the consequence. I didn't do anything. You did everything except physically cheat. And honestly, what you did might be worse. Physical affairs are usually about sex. What you had with those men, that was intimacy. That was emotional infidelity. That was you giving pieces of yourself to other men that should have been reserved for your husband. You sound like a 1950s housewife." I sound like someone who understands how marriage works. You don't get to have multiple emotional husbands and expect your actual husband to be okay with it. She hung up too. I called Jake. I needed someone who understood me. Hey, what's up? David's divorcing me. Silence. Jake? Look, maybe that's for the best. What? I mean, you guys have been unhappy for a while, right? Maybe this is the universe telling you it's time to move on. I don't want to move on. I want my husband. Do you, though? Because every time we talk, you complain about him. Every time we're together, you seem so much happier than when you talk about being home with him. That's because you're fun and he's stressed. Or maybe it's because you have feelings for me and you won't admit it. My breath caught. I don't have feelings for you. You're my friend. Right. Your friend who you hold hands with. Your friend who you spend more time with than your husband. Your friend who you called first when you got the promotion. Your friend who you think about way more than a wife should think about someone who's not her husband. This is insane. I told you in Chicago, if you weren't married, we'd be together. That offer's still open. David's leaving anyway. Why not see where this goes? I hung up on him. I sat on my empty couch in my empty apartment that used to feel like home, and finally let myself think the thought I'd been avoiding for months. Maybe they were all right. Maybe I had been lying to myself. Maybe my friendships had crossed lines I'd refused to see. Maybe I had destroyed my own marriage. I met Tyler for coffee the next day. Wednesday morning, our usual spot. He could tell something was wrong immediately. What happened? David's divorcing me. Shit, I'm sorry. Are you, though? He looked confused. What do you mean? Are you actually sorry? Or are you thinking about what Jake said, that now I'm available? Tyler shifted uncomfortably. I mean, I care about you. I want you to be happy. If you're happier without David... Do you have feelings for me? What? Where is this coming from? Everyone keeps saying that all my male friends are into me, that I'm naive or willfully blind. So I'm asking directly, do you have feelings for me? He looked down at his coffee. Took a long time to answer. Yeah, he finally said. I do. I have for months. I thought it was obvious. It wasn't. Really. The coffee dates every week. The long conversations. The way I can't stop thinking about you. The fact that my girlfriend broke up with me because she said I talked about you more than her. Your girlfriend broke up with you? 2 months ago. I didn't tell you because... I don't know. I guess I was hoping you'd leave David and I'd have a chance. I stared at him. This person I'd thought was my friend. This person I'd defended to my husband as just a friend over and over. I have to go, I said. Wait. No, I need to go. I need to think. I left him sitting there and drove home with my hands shaking on the steering wheel. That afternoon, I did something I should have done a year ago. I made an honest list. Things I did with my male friends that I would be upset about if David did them. Texting other women late at night. Having one-on-one dinners that looked like dates. Sharing intimate details about our marriage. Letting another woman sleep over. Getting physical touch, massages, from another woman. Holding hands with another woman. Having inside jokes that excluded me. Spending more time with them than me. Defending them more than defending our marriage. Posting couple-like photos with them. Staying overnight at their houses. Letting them call me pet names. Every single thing had a check mark. Every single one. If David had done any of these things with female friends, I would have lost my mind. I would have called it emotional cheating. I would have demanded he stop. But when I did them, I called it friendship. I called him insecure for objecting. I called him controlling for asking me to stop. The hypocrisy was staggering. Then I made another list. Times I chose my male friends over David. Cancelled date nights to hang out with them. 12 plus times. Cut phone calls with David short because they texted countless. Sided with them over David in arguments. Every time, defended their character more passionately than David's. Always. prioritized their feelings over David's, constantly made David feel like the villain for having normal reactions. Repeatedly, I sat there looking at these lists and felt sick. I had destroyed my marriage, not David, not his insecurity, me. I had taken my husband's love and trust and thrown it away because I wanted the attention of multiple men, because I wanted to feel desired and interesting and special, because I was selfish. I tried calling David that night, straight to voicemail. I left a message. David, it's me. I know you don't want to talk, but I need you to hear this. I was wrong about everything. You weren't insecure. You weren't controlling. You were a husband watching his wife have emotional affairs, and you tried to save our marriage, and I called you crazy for it. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Please call me back. Please let me fix this. I love you. I've always loved you. I just lost sight of what that meant. Please. He didn't call back. I texted. I ended things with Jake, Marcus, Tyler, all of them. I told them we can't be friends anymore. I see it now. I see what I was doing. Please give me a chance to make this right. Read. No response. I sent an email. I made lists today. Lists of all the ways I betrayed you while telling myself I wasn't. Lists of all the times I chose them over you. Lists of all the boundaries I stomped on while calling you insecure. You were right about everything. I was in denial. I was selfish. I was destroying us, and I couldn't see it because I didn't want to see it. Please talk to me. No response. I showed up at his friend's apartment where I knew he was staying. Knocked on the door. His friend answered. Is David here? He doesn't want to see you. Please, I just need 5 minutes. He said you'd show up. He said to tell you that he's done having conversations where you manipulate him into thinking he's the problem. He's done being gaslit. He's done being your backup plan while you explore emotional relationships with other men. I'm not doing that anymore. I ended all of it. Good for you. You should have done that a year ago. Now it's too late. He closed the door. I stood there in the hallway and finally let myself cry. Really cry. Ugly cry. The kind of crying where you can't breathe and your whole body shakes and you realize you've lost something you can never get back. It's been 3 weeks since David moved out. 2 weeks since I got the divorce papers. 1 week since I signed them. Because what else could I do? He was right. About all of it. And he deserves better than someone who took him for granted while collecting emotional affairs like Pokemon cards. I've spent these weeks in brutal self-reflection, seeing everything I refused to see before. The truth about Jake. He was never just a friend. He was a work husband. We acted like a couple at the office. We had the intimacy of a relationship without the label. I was having an emotional affair and calling it friendship. The truth about Brandon, the massage thing wasn't innocent. I liked the attention. I liked having a hot, fit guy touching me, complimenting me, making me feel desired. If it was purely professional, I would have gone to his actual office, not had him do it in my home where my husband could walk in. The truth about Marcus. He's been in love with me since college, and I knew it. I always knew it, and I kept him around because I liked having someone who was in love with me. I liked the backup plan. I liked knowing that if my marriage failed, Marcus would be there. The truth about Tyler, we were having an emotional affair. Those coffee dates, those were dates. The deep conversations, that was intimacy. The way we connected, that was chemistry. I was developing feelings and pretending I wasn't. The truth about David's insecurity, it wasn't insecurity. It was a man watching his wife give her time, attention, emotional energy, and affection to multiple other men. It was a man trying desperately to save his marriage while his wife told him he was crazy. It was a man setting reasonable boundaries while his wife called him controlling. The truth about me, I'm not a victim here. I'm not the hero of this story. I'm the villain who destroyed a good marriage because I was selfish and entitled and convinced myself that having my cake and eating it too was somehow feminist and progressive instead of just plain betrayal. I'm living alone. David got the apartment in the separation agreement, and I didn't fight it. I moved into a studio across town. I haven't talked to Jake in 2 weeks. I sent him a message explaining that our friendship had crossed lines, and I needed to take responsibility for that and end things. He tried to argue. I blocked him. Brandon keeps texting to ask if I want to work out. I haven't responded. I quit that gym. Marcus called me drunk last week, asking if, now that I'm single, we could finally give it a shot. I told him that ship sailed when I married David, and I'm not interested in being his backup plan anymore. He got angry. I blocked him too. Tyler sent me a long email about how we had something special, and I shouldn't throw it away because of societal pressure to fit into monogamous boxes. I didn't respond. I deleted it. My female friends are slowly warming back up to me. Sarah met me for coffee yesterday and said, "I'm glad you finally see it. It took you losing everything, but at least you see it now." She's right. I do see it. Too late, but I see it. I see that I had a man who loved me completely, who tried to protect our marriage, who set boundaries not because he was controlling, but because he was hurting. I see that I gaslighted him for years, making him think his normal reactions were character flaws. I see that I was having multiple emotional affairs while convincing myself I was just maintaining friendships. I see that I destroyed the best thing in my life because I wanted attention from multiple sources and refused to see the harm I was causing. I've been in therapy for 2 weeks now, individual therapy, because there's no couples therapy to go to anymore. My therapist asked me in our first session, "Why do you think you needed so much male attention?" I didn't have an answer then. I'm starting to form one now. I think I was afraid that if I only had David, and David stopped finding me interesting or attractive or special, I'd have nothing. I'd be nobody. So I collected backup plans. I collected men who made me feel valued. I collected sources of validation so that I'd never have to face the fear of being enough for just one person and having that person decide I wasn't enough. But here's the thing I'm learning. By trying to avoid that fear, I created the exact situation I was afraid of. David didn't leave because I wasn't enough. He left because I treated him like he wasn't enough. Like he couldn't possibly fulfill all my needs, so I needed backup men waiting in the wings. My therapist said, relationships require vulnerability. You have to risk being enough for one person. You have to trust that if you give them all of you, they won't leave. You couldn't do that with David. You hedged your bets. You kept escape routes open. And by doing that, you pushed him away. She's right. I was so afraid of abandonment that I created the conditions for abandonment. I was so afraid of being vulnerable that I spread myself across multiple relationships, giving pieces of myself to different men instead of trusting one man with all of me. And now I'm alone, completely alone, with no husband and no backup plans because I've cut them all off. And you know what? It's exactly what I deserve. The papers are signed. The attorneys have worked out the details. Next month, my marriage will officially end. David will be free to find someone who prioritizes him, who respects boundaries, who doesn't need validation from multiple sources, and I'll be free to work on becoming someone who can actually handle monogamy. Someone who doesn't confuse attention with love. Someone who understands that boundaries aren't control, they're respect. I'm not going to date for a long time. Maybe a year. Maybe longer. Because I clearly don't know how to be in a relationship without self-sabotaging. I need to learn to be enough for myself before I can be enough for someone else. I need to learn what healthy friendships look like. I need to learn the difference between being independent and being unavailable. I need to learn that marriage isn't a prison, it's a choice to prioritize one person above others, a choice to create boundaries that protect your partnership, a choice to be vulnerable and trust that the person you chose will catch you. I didn't understand that when I was married to David. I understand it now. Too late, but I understand it. If you're reading this and you have close friendships with people of the gender you're attracted to, ask yourself these questions honestly. Would I be okay with my partner doing exactly what I'm doing? Am I sharing things with this friend that I should be sharing with my partner? Am I getting emotional needs met by this friend that I should be communicating to my partner about? If my partner asked me to create boundaries with this friend, would I be defensive? Would I call them insecure? Do I prioritize time with this friend over time with my partner? Would I be honest with my partner about everything I say and do with this friend? If my partner could see all my interactions with this friend, would they be hurt? If you answered yes to any of these questions, you might be doing what I did. You might be having an emotional affair while calling it friendship. You might be destroying your relationship while blaming your partner's insecurity. Don't do what I did. Don't lose someone who loves you because you need attention from multiple sources. Don't gaslight someone who's trying to save your relationship by setting boundaries. Don't call reasonable requests controlling just because they require you to change behavior you know is hurtful. Learn from my mistakes. Save your relationship before it's too late. Because I promise you, being right about your right to have friends isn't worth being alone. My husband wasn't too insecure to handle my guy friends. My husband was too secure to accept being treated like an option. He knew his worth. He knew what he deserved. He knew that a wife who prioritizes multiple emotional relationships with other men isn't actually prioritizing her marriage. And when I refused to change, when I refused to acknowledge his pain, when I refused to set boundaries that would protect our partnership, he stopped being my husband, not because he was weak or jealous or controlling, but because he was strong enough to walk away from someone who didn't value him. And I'll spend the rest of my life wishing I'd understood that before it was too late. Before I lost the best man I've ever known. Before I destroyed the best relationship I'll probably ever have. Before I chose the validation of many over the love of one. I said my husband was too insecure to handle my guy friends. I was wrong. So wrong. And now I'm paying the price for that wrongness every single day. Alone. Without him. Without them. Without anyone. Exactly as I deserve.